This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent. It's your live market chat Monday. Man, April 10th, 2023. Hopefully you had a great weekend. Happy holidays, Easter, whatever. You know, some people chose to enjoy their weekend many different ways, but no one's complaining about a Friday with the market closed, and some economies are actually closed today as well. So kind of a slower day. Figured I would drop in and talk about a few things. Got a lot of interesting thoughts to kind of put on the recording just so people can kind of understand what's going on behind the scenes, and also just be always in full transparency, trying to keep people fully informed of what we're up to. So if you have any questions, please drop a question in the comments or on the Discord room, or hit me up on social media. I'll try to answer it. If you have just get a little mic check and then I'll get into it. Hopefully everyone is doing well today. Sipping on some coffee. Mic is good. Mic check 1 2 1 2. All right, first I want to kind of open this up because this is interesting. Speaking of conversation in Discord about oil. The national truck spot rate is $1.59, adjusted for inflation, are 18 cents lower than last of 2019. Now again, I don't know anything for sure. Maybe this time is different. I don't know, but I like to start this whole topic with oil because it's rather disingenuous to not be honest about such, because people want to trade it. I'm all for it. Go right ahead. Don't have a problem. But to buy oil thinking it's going higher for the long run, near term, just in general, it has bottomed. I struggle with that because, again, to see people say that, this is a good trade because we have to refill the SPR, BRICS want to hold oil up. Well, diesel demand's fallen off a cliff in Europe and in Asia. Oil in general demand should drop in a recession. Trucking rates are showing you everything that you need to know. Why does OPEC cut 1.5 million barrels a day? Because everything's good? Because demand is strong? No, because they see demand dropping. You have to be thoughtful about this, and I've tried to warn people. And again, it's not going to always go down in a straight line or go up. You just got to be thoughtful about that. And so, looking at it from the perspective of a trade, if it someone, Sam's talking about XLE buying it. ExxonMobil potentially buying PXD, or the rumor of, is that exit liquidity? Is that a buddy pass? That's what I'd be thinking right here. Because again, you have to understand, at the highs, at the lows, there's always going to be a bunch of FUD. People talking this, people talking that. Why do you think it's so hard for people to short tech the last couple weeks? It's going against the pack. It's literally the lone wolf, the lone idea. Well, what's the lone idea in oil, in my opinion? It's that it's going to go lower. Everyone thinks it's going to go higher, right? Everyone thinks the dollar's going lower. Well, guess what? The dollar's bottoming. We talked about this in the Discord room all weekend. I don't know about you guys, but I read, I perused the headlines. I saw hundreds of articles talking about the dollar's dead, the dollar's done, the BRICS are going to win, this is going to happen. And it's like, I don't know anything for sure, but I do know when I see those headlines and I wake up Monday morning and the dollar's ripping higher, something's off. I think that's Exxon realizing that buying X is better than spending on CapEx. This isn't good. It's subject to interpretation. I get what you're saying. I really don't see Exxon pulling the trigger on it unless it's at a significantly lower price, but I could be wrong. Again, but that's what you gotta, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. It's kind of like when Morgan Stanley upgrades things at the highs, or Goldman, we talk about this. Is Exxon really out there to do that, or is that brokerages trying to convey some sort of message that Exxon should do something with the cash that they have? Now, again, not saying go out there and short ExxonMobil at the moment, but again, this is what's hard here. Again, I try to make people realize there's easier trades out there. Shorting tech makes sense. Shorting materials, not really that interested in it, but if they go higher or lower a chop, I've tried to show people in the Back to Basics video about who wins the tech war, there's going to be like this birthing pains of months, more like years of just choppiness in a bear market. Now, could this bear market end sooner than later? Well, I mean, you got to get the VIX spike. You got to pull the rug out and get this over with. You got to pull the Band-Aid off. Because the Fed's got to do what? They can't sustain higher rates, but they also want money to flow into treasuries. Like, this is the dichotomy here. I talk about this constantly. You know how they say, members of Congress, whatever, people in power should never waste a good crisis to not try to act on and create new rules. Well, think about this. If you're the Feds and you want to get interest rates lower, raising interest rates, as you've seen if you study the past, at certain times will actually show treasuries get bought shortly after, because people then start anticipating what? The Feds have raised too much. They're going to incite a recession. That's what happens. And so that's where, watching the TLT today, which is interesting, it's all over the place. I'm not surprised. But if I'm the Feds, I want people buying dollar. I want them buying treasuries. I don't give a crap about holding up the stock market. I don't care about holding up commodities. If anything, they're going to try to do is what? Put pressure on the CME and the futures markets. Do what? Raise margin requirements. At the highs, they typically do that to get what? Prices to be, things to be sold. What's up, SM? I don't know. The rally in stocks has been extremely concentrated. Just 5 stocks. Yeah, no, I agree. Leadership is thinning out. The herd is thinning out. So, again, I could talk about oil for a while, but let's just go look at the charts, though. This is where I try to be honest with people. Not honest with you, just be honest with yourself. I was trying to think the best words. Sometimes I don't always pick them. We talked about it probably should bounce to the mid-60s. Well, here's the thing. OPEC announces a huge cut, and what do you have? A 5-day range. At resistance, at an old trend line, going into recession. Now, again, if you don't remember what happened in COVID, oil went negative. Now, is oil going to go negative again? Probably not. But it wouldn't surprise me if oil got back into the mid-60s. Maybe it gets a 50 handle on it. If things are as bad as it could be, you don't know where the floor is, right? You just don't know where the floor is. You just don't. Again, I always tell people this. When the market is acting emotionally and people are selling, buying, whatever, through pure emotion, things can go way higher than you think and then go way lower than you think as well. What's the right price to buy? Well, again, it's easier when the something's dropping and the VIX or the IV explode. You can need to typically tell. So, gold miners are about to crash. Well, that one's an interesting take because a lot of people, look at that. A lot of people have hated that I said, be careful with the miners up here. Now, again, what's the truth here with miners? Well, this is what typically happens. And again, I don't mind talking about this because Sheen, I'm with you. If the VIX is going to explode, years ending in 3 are typically bearish, like springs. Then it makes really much sense. Here's the blow off. Again, nothing is safe. Again, people don't understand. If there's any sniff of credit crisis, commodity miners, explorers, whatever you want to call it, they become hampered by their own debts and their ability to borrow and to function as a whole. And so they punish the absolute dog crap out of companies like gold miners that are typically what? Not run well. Not all of them, but some. So it's so hard to know for sure, but this area matters, and I'm not surprised. We talked about gold bottoming. If anyone's paying attention to the channel, go watch the videos from that early November Fed meeting. It was again, I'm curious to see if we can break out, but we talked down here. It's this is just trading, chopping out. Everyone hates it. It's probably the bottom. Why gold typically bottoms when what? Everyone hates it. Well, now everybody loves it and thinks it can't go lower. And you've got these successive gap down, gap down, gap down. Well, if gold peaks and dollar's going to rise, miners going to get slaughtered, the market's going to pull back, gold miners get thrown out in the bathwater. We talk about throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's a reoccurring comment. And that's the thing. Is it really anything different in oil? No. I don't think so. Sabeline, are you interested in shorting real estate stocks? Been seeing a lot of commercial real estate. Yeah, I mean, again, when it comes down to like picking and choosing, I mean, it makes sense. Real estate should pull back. Again, I just think tech is where everyone's hiding. You have to understand, like from the perspective of someone's doing this a long time, when everybody piles into a trade for safety, what happens when that trade unwinds? It's painful, very painful, and it goes a lot lower than just as much as it went higher or irrationally up, it goes down. Well, I mean, what housing stocks would you be looking at? Was it XLB? Sorry, that's materials. Is it X? Man, there's so many XBIs and it. Why can't I remember? Hold on. It's all on my charts. I got so many freaking XHB. Sorry. I got so many of these stupid ETFs with XH and XB and X. I mean, the housing names look interesting. I mean, I'm with you, Sabby. I mean, look at this. I mean, if you're at major resistance or support. I mean, the same thing. Like, banks are going to go. Real estate's going to go. Again, there's nothing going to be safe. You have ascending support on gold, and it will hit that 15-year. Gold is not bottomed. I don't think. Again, I don't. We could debate has gold bottomed or not. I think the easy trade is to wait for the Feds to pivot, and you can buy gold. Right? Because it'll probably drop going into higher rates, scary market, liquidation. Well, then when they decide to cut rates, because when they cut, that means the shiitake is about to hit the fan. Then I feel like you can really buy gold, and you can really buy the miners, because then at that point, then the Feds will be ideally paving the market with baths of liquidity at that point to try to keep all markets stable within credit, and then miners should hold up, oil should bottom. I mean, everything, all the commodity names should. That's when the cue for me to just go trade commodities only. And I think the commodity bull cycle is going to be huge. Huge with a capital Y. So, James, what do you think of semis pumping today? Just clear the gap. It's looking for an M top because everyone and their brothers puts on it. It's tough to say. I mean, if you read what happened with Samsung, Micron popping back up. We talked about, I posted this watching Micron on the daily. Yeah, no, I don't think they're going to cut rates anytime soon. I completely agree. Coming into this it's a weird candle. I mean, again, I always try to explain, like, there's going to be times in the market where something just doesn't make sense. And you learn to not take it personal. It just is what it is. This rallying doesn't really make sense. Nvidia, I mean, everybody and their mom's got puts, I guess. I mean, if you're thinking about from like the hourly perspective, maybe. Does it need to fill the gap, I mean, or is it just going to be some sort of head and shoulders top? I mean, this is the problem. The thing about James and why I'm not even really watching Nvidia today. Like, I feel like that's the gap to start the move. Now is it rallying back? Yeah, I mean, is it temporary? Maybe. Or does it have to end? Your guess is as good as mine. At this point, I think the top is already in, but it doesn't necessarily mean it has to go down in a straight line. It's kind of like some people are asking me about Apple. What do you think now? I'm like, well, I think Apple's got two gap trap, or two gaps starting to move down. Now, if it dojis today, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Tim Cook lied like a mother about things in his previous quarter. So, well, I mean, again, is the market going to trust that? I mean, this is what gets so difficult here. Is you don't know. I mean, it's like Tesla today, like gaps down, comes right back, but it's trend's still down. I mean, you're going to have some green days down, right? Or they gap down, open up. We'll see. I mean, keep an eye. There's a lot of like moving parts going on here, and this is what's so hard about it. It's like everyone wants the market to dump, right? Or just want it to like move in a big line. Well, here you go. Here's the dollar bottoming, right? Somebody's selling the crap. I mean, again, selling the crap out of treasuries today. Market doesn't really like that. Higher rates, no, they don't like that. Well, again, kill inflation. It makes sense. Watching gold, again, gapping down. Okay, interesting. Gold has been up as the market seems to have gotten comfortable with the idea that somehow the Feds were going to slow their roll, which, okay, it's worth keeping an eye on, right? Watching some of the material names, watching like the IWM, IWM has been lagging. It's up today. Congrats. Hits the 8-day. Dank. We'll see. Again, some days there's just not a lot to do. I mean, tech weakness, it's trying to rally here, I guess, a little bit. Not surprised. Watching the XLF stuck cheddar. I know people are like, oh, it's over the 20-day. Okay. And again, it's also support and resistance here at 3160s. We'll see what happens here. AMD, pop. This thing got pretty much, and we talked about it, 102 down to 90, pops a few dollars. This is what's so hard. And I hate to say this is what's so hard, but you're going to find that this kind of crap happens. Or is this just going to be a day where it turns out to be a wick? You don't know. And if you haven't been trading that long, or even if you have, like, you see days where you're like, oh, everything looks great. And then you come back at the last hour and all of a sudden AMD's at 90. And you go, what happened? You don't know. Well, speaking of oil, lower lows for the day. Again, XOP, look at that. Resistance. We talked about this backside trend line. So I'm like, man, if you bought XLE, as Sam, if you're listening, if you bought that, it was a great trade at the bottom. But don't marry it, please. You should be selling up here, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it without trying to sound like a dick. Everyone's like, oh, you're mean. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, oil is not safe at this point in the cycle. Now, could I be wrong? Well, if I'm wrong, then that's what? Going against the probabilities. I don't like to make trades in my mind where it's like, oh, I have to bet on the one-off move. Is one-off move war? I don't know. I don't know. But that's where it's like, it's just easier to put your tech shorts on and just wear them. Let it roll. Trade around it. Whatever you got to do. Man, PXD, low of the day. Look at this. Pop up. And I agree. I don't think the Feds are going to cut rates. People say, well, isn't that when the market tanks is when they cut rates? Typically, but also, too, is it possible that just like they kept rates for too long and markets went way higher, could the cycle of them raising rates go way further and crash the market way more than they want? That's what my thinking is. Again, because you have to think about liquidity just moves around. Like, money isn't destroyed. And so if I'm thinking about how money works, if it's not destroyed and it's all sitting here in all of this tech names sitting super hot, telling you they want that money to come to the dollar, they're going to want that money to come to treasuries. It just seems so obvious. Again, you're not going to hear this until what? Probably weeks or months. Usually we're very good at predicting what's going to happen based on repeating patterns and the repeating tendencies of the market. But that seems logical to me. I always have an eye on like arrow in the background when I watch this. I'm like, man, is this an M top? Copper been so hot right now. Some of the ag names. Again, I'm not surprised they bounce. We've talked about for weeks that this could be some sort of bottoming process. Do I want to be early on it? No. No. Could you have traded it? Yes. Sure, if you wanted to. That fits your bill. Doesn't make me disappointed to hear that someone may have traded it. But again, I don't think. Again, study the monthlies. Let's just go back in time. I can't remember. Is Mosaic? Yeah. This is what these names did in 2000s. They just chopped and made lower, and eventually they hit their bottom. I'm trying to think of what maybe a better example of. Let me see if X looks proper. Does it look proper? Yeah, they all kind of look the same. They just chopped. Now someone might argue they look like crap, and I get that. I'm trying to think of like what the best example of that, but that's kind of what they did. Like, you knew they were basing out while like tech was going pow, falling off the cliff. A lot of these names did what? They had bases and chopped. All right, bases, big base. Could it get back to? I mean, that would be nuts. Base and chop. I mean, you don't know that. That's the hardest thing about these commodity trades, especially like liking them for the long term. Credit crunches create illiquid markets. Illiquid markets create extreme price movements. Extreme price movements create tons of emotion, and tons of emotion get people to do stupid crap. Meaning, stocks that are probably should never trade at certain prices get there. Just keep that in mind. That's where, to me, it's like people are always like, when do you get back in the market? Well, again, if they go full liquidity pump and the market rallies, well, guess what? Then it's probably going to go 10x in inflation, and you're going to have like the Venezuela / Argentina stock market. Fine, whatever. I don't mind being late for that, because that's going to go up at least 100, and not at least 10x. So you can be late on that. But if they do what I think they're going to do, try to create, it's not creating stability, but just create reliance on the dollar, and government, the U.S. government still being kind of pulling the plug, or not pulling the strings. It makes sense why they'd want that money to go into the dollar and treasuries. Just keep that in the back of your mind. That's what typically happens. And everyone says, well, this time is different. Well, that's the thing. I've heard that so many times over the course of my trading career. And you look back and it's like, no, not really. This time is not different. Betting on the end of the world is only a good trade. It doesn't, to win on that one forever is not it doesn't really work out that great. All right, any thoughts, questions, concerns? Sabby, hopefully answered your question about real estate stuff. I mean, I don't blame you. I mean, looking at real estate. I mean, if I'm watching the XHB, I would love to see this come back down. Again, it's just maybe not as fast as you want it, in the upper 20s, low 30s. And then hopefully there's some real estate deals too, and interest rates deals. That would be tight. That to me would be some good opportunities to shop. And hopefully if you made money while you're trading, now you really got some capital. All right, kind of quiet this morning. Again, if you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, holler. It's just interesting. I always come off as a dick when I'm trying to explain it. Like, your logic is flawed, and it's like, all right, you've done this enough. I don't chart dust. No, I don't ever chart leverage ETFs. I would just chart GDX. Do not chart dust. Do not chart UVX. Well, I don't chart any of those ETFs, because again, they just decay. It's like they don't matter. I've sat here for what I feel like is months trying to tell people, lay the fuck off UNG. Excuse my language. Oh, but look, look at the volume, look at the chart, and it's like, bleh. Excuse my language. I would just look at the GDX and start looking at that for the dust. Do not chart the dust. Saying you're charting dust says to me that you're very naive about trading, because then it makes me think, well, you don't understand how these ETFs work. They literally decay. They reverse split constantly. So why would you chart something that literally, if you look at the monthly chart, just looks like a big mountain of crap? Literally. Like, that shows me a lot. Let's chart this. I mean, is this like, it was at 1,000, no, it was at 106,000, Dan. Let's chart the dust. Nah, short term, again, well, no, you don't, no. These things don't act intraday correctly to chart, period. End of story. No, that's a fucking stupid comment. Excuse my language, but that's just ridiculous. Charting leveraged ETFs is what retail dipshits do. No, it should show up on the GDX. That's what it follows. Excuse my language, but I mean, it's like, how dumb are people to chart the UVXY or the dust or all this stuff? No, you don't do that. Like, that's like rule number 1. That'd be like getting your driver's license and knowing stop sign means stop. You don't chart leveraged ETFs. You don't watch them at all. They literally follow the underlying ETF that they're meant to follow. Sorry, it just makes me laugh. I just get that comment probably twice a week, and I'm like, you shouldn't be trading these things if you don't understand them. I mean, mark your word. I don't give a shit about your word. Again, don't be like that. People who try to say like things that have to happen, that stuff, that's the thing. No one cares. I think tech is going to go lower, but I always say I could be wrong. I don't ever like to try to promise certainty. Once you create certainty in your own head about something, now you think you're omnipotent, and now you think the market has to do what you think. Be evidence-based. I'd love to see GDX at 10 or 12. I mean, no one's going to argue that from my perspective, but I can't say, well, I think it's going to go there for sure. Because what if it doesn't? You don't take any of your profits, and you ignore the evidence, you ignore the charts. What if something changes in the process of getting to whatever the low ends up being? Like, you can't think like that in trading. When you're winning, the worst thing you can do is believe that you're smarter than the market. Now, if the evidence follows your beliefs, great. But to put on price targets, I've always warned people, you have to trade around your positions. I mean, we talked about this very such thing with like the XLF when we're shorting financials. You have price approximations, but you have to look at the evidence around you. You just have to. You sold your house and car to short GDX. I mean, why don't you just short tech? That's just dumb. In inflationary times, tech does the worst. And when the market wrecks, tech has got all the money. I wouldn't. Well, let me guess, you bought dust. Wow. Wowzers. That's some just silly stuff. That's how you go bust, though. You either go broke or you win big. And if that's how you want to trade trading, not as a business, but as some like speculative game, good luck. Good luck. I'd never sell my house on anything. I would use profits to trade around and make sure I know what I'm doing. Sorry, just zooming out. Different charts. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, this is old fibbage. Old fibbage from here to here. Charting dust. You'll talk to me in September? Sure, probably not. But I'll be happy if it is for you. That's fine. People who make, again, it's like me. Again, how many times did I say Tesla was going to be a double-digit stock? Right? Who remembers this? Who remembers this? We talked about this was like the epic blow-off. Got pretty close. But if you didn't take any of your profits on that short, how dumb is that? Well, it had to get to $80 a share for me to take my profits. No. Go watch the videos. We talked about what? Tesla topping in the 400s. We said double-digit stock. Double-digit. Double-digit. Oh, but you don't take the profit. Target of 99. Yeah. All right. Well, again, if you're messing with me, that's cool. I don't take it personal. I just kind of laugh. I can only take what you say. I don't know you or what you're really referencing. So I'm making my own jokes about it. I think it's kind of funny to me for people. Again, when you say price targets, that's another naive thing. Because again, you can have price targets, but be evidence-based. Yeah. I mean, it's like saying, you pick the name, you pick the target. Okay. That's what breaks more folks than anything is price targets and believing that something has to happen as the evidence changes. I mean, it's like, we shorted XLF, right? Who remembers this? Anyone here? Remember upside target zone? We talked about reshorting, adding heavy on the 20-day. We said price target somewhere in the low 30s, right? Well, hopefully you took some of your profit. Like we talked about, 90% of it off. Now it's bouncing. You can reload. But what if you never took any profit and this rallied back for some reason. Again, what if they plant more money into the system? What if all of a sudden they plugged the hole of liquidity and it was just temporary, but still? You mean your gains are not real until realized. I love that statement because it's true. Gains are not real until realized. So putting price targets and saying, well, I can only take money if it gets to this price, that's how you screw up. And so you go look at the monthly in the XLF, well, you're not surprised it bounced here. I still think it can go much lower. I think the FAS could go to like almost nothing, FAS. But that's just that's how you have to trade though. Like the psychology of trading is what screws everybody up. If it was trading was easy, 95% of traders wouldn't fail. And their beliefs are where their problems. I mean, again, this is why I do the live chats. Again, we could talk about charting all day, but the reality is like 99% of most people's mess ups are their belief in certainty, belief in targets, belief in not being able to pivot to the evidence. I'd love to see the GDX go to 10 or 12, but what if it doesn't? What if it doesn't? Like, that's the thing. I can't put price targets down. I'm like, like you have price levels that I watch, but I don't put price targets. Like, I'll only cover my short on XL, whatever FAS if the XLF gets to 29.450. It didn't get there. It just didn't get there. Well, I'd be real pissed off if I didn't take any profits in the options that I did hold, which were puts, obviously decayed over time. And the VIX coming down from 29, 30, whatever it got to, down to 18. Yikes. So. Now, Sean, I agree with what you're saying there, my friend. I agree with that. Again, the VIX, this is what I've tried to explain to people, and I don't know what planet they're on, but the more I hear people ignore it, the more I feel better about this. What bear market peaks with a VIX in the 39 level? Considering everything that's going on in the world, it's a 0% chance. I mean, I understand why you're shorting miners. I just don't know why again, if I was going to borrow, and again, joking here, if I was going to sell my house and my car, I wouldn't short the miners. I would short tech to the fucking dirt. That's what I would short, because that's where everyone's hiding. No, I don't feel like people are, well, maybe there's some dumb money hiding in miners because they're chasing gold, but joking, as this conversation is more about jokes than reality, that's to me is the easier trade. Because whatever, if the market drops 20, 30%, some names are going to drop more than that, naturally, right? So, interesting. Good chatting with you. I appreciate, the jokes. Again, I don't take this serious, man. Hopefully when I swear it's for fun. Again, I wish YouTube didn't mind, but I don't mean to be harsh. I just laugh. At heart, I think everybody who's ever talked into a microphone or stood on stage wish they were a comedian. Oh, Steven, if you have to ask about nat gas, then it's probably a sell. I mean, again, if you watch the daily recaps, All right, Sean, take care, buddy. Good chatting with you, man. Welcome to hang out anytime, man. Again, I love miners. I hope you're right about 10 to 12. I will buy a ton of JNUG and JNUG calls and what's the other one? Damn it, not Dust. Whatever. You know what it is. UNG. Sorry, distracted again because I've traded miners my whole life. They're very interesting. UNG again. I know. What do you like for nat gas? I don't like anything for nat gas. I mean, I'm kind of over here telling people to lay off oil service. I still don't think... Now, again, if you're playing the geopolitical game, fine. I'm looking at the macro game, and this is what's so hard, is that going into a recession, seeing what I'm seeing in oil and gas sector, it doesn't really promote higher prices. Now, could oil and gas base out? That's always possible, I guess, right? But again, we think about opportunity cost, pivoting, like what's the best trade? Do I want to go long this stuff? Or do I just want to short tech? Do I want to go long stuff that might go somewhere or might not? Or do I just want to short tech? Now again, the short tech trade is hard. No one's going to argue that. We've choppy, sloppy mess. But the harder they, bigger they are, harder they fall kind of thing. Like, the more that people pile into stuff for safety under the perception of safety, as soon as it unwinds, it's gone. And again, the best time to buy commodities, I've said this, I think hopefully you've heard this a dozen times, is when the Feds decide to pivot. Because then all the liquidity comes in and it goes directly to reinflation. So, which ticker do you like for nat gas? What ticker? Let me pull up my other workspace watch list. I don't really have a name. Again, I mean, I think if you were going to play oil and gas, remember CLR, they got bought out. I don't really have one at this point. That's the problem here. This is the thing, Steven, because this is a good question. It's like, what holds up best as nat gas and oil pull back, right? Right? Like, what is going to be the best names? Well, obviously, you don't want, like, the mega caps, in my opinion, right? Because the mega caps are just, they're limited. They're not going to get bought out. I don't know. I mean, I guess PXD is oil and gas, right? EOG, they got a good balance sheet. I mean, all these names, I mean, again, at the right price. What's CVE? I don't know. Do you have an idea? Because, again, this is the thing. It's like, I just don't even want to, like, go into the space right now. Now, again, position for the long term, I don't know. XOP, oil and gas. I struggle with this one. ExxonMobil, low of the day. I mean, Fang used to be a hot one. LNG, I remember when this thing was like a double-digit stock. Like low double-digit. I'm talking about like, and then 8, 9, 10, 15 range. I mean, I've talked about that Flex LNG. I like that one. Again, I mean, do you have a name? Because I don't mind running it through my tickers. You're better off shorting the cold. Yeah, I mean, I think shorting cold makes sense. Selling calls on cold, that makes sense, Jordan. That's a great idea. I just have no desire to play in the oil and gas space because, again, I've seen what happens to these names during recession. They're not recessionary proof. Now, again, if war breaks out and this stuff holds up, great. I don't have a name. Yeah, this is what's so hard. I don't know because it's kind of like the GDXJ, if you're just listening to conversation, like what names hold up the best? That's what you kind of want to watch for when this stuff pulls back. Is it Steven or Stefan? I don't want to butcher your name, but does that make sense? Like what names hold up the best when oil and natural gas pull back? That's always, and this is the thing. That game means a lot, Stefan. Okay, cool. Because what holds up the best will have the liquidity and people buying on discount. And again, a lot of that time, could management be buying or could, think about it. If you know ExxonMobil, now again, insider trading, I don't recommend it. I hear you might go to jail or you might become a president, you might be a politician and get rich. Whatever. With insider trading is that names that hold up before some big news, somebody knew, like people talk, right? Like if Exxon was buying PXD, right? This is kind of interesting, right? Somebody was putting in the volume down here, right? Somebody was supporting this little bugger. And now it rips up and they're probably selling, going like, we're not going to buy them. Great trade, though. Trading's hard in that sense. Like, this is the thing. Like, I understand completely why people like oil, gas, gold, miners, materials, ag, lithium, materials, copper, materials, aluminum, all that stuff. Trust me, here. This is literally what I'm going to be doing one day. I've said this to a million times to people. Here's my commodity watch list. And the daily market recap will just be all commodities at some point. All commodities. Because again, it's going to be a commodity bull market. But until that day in the Fed's pivot and materials bottom, because again, the logic makes sense, Stefan. Like, there's no doubt. Long term, again, if you could time travel without owning the UNG because it decays and it sucks, is natural gas going to probably be at $2 or whatever it is? What is the price at right now? No. It's probably, this is the base, right? Slap at a base, right? $2. Probably not going much lower. Your logic makes sense. It's just when. I don't know, man. That's why I'd rather just short tech. That's just the easier trade. Good questions, though, because this is the thing about trading. Like, I've been in these circumstances where, for example, owning gold while inflation continued to rise in the mid 2000, like 13, 14, 15 time. But the stuff didn't go anywhere. And so this is where mentally being able to pivot and go, well, I've seen this kind of crap before. Do I want to play this game, or do I want to try to pivot to what I think is the best trade or trades? That's what I've come to. I've tried to explain to people, like, there comes this point in trading where you start realizing this stuff. Where you go, all right, do I want to trade this, or do I want to trade what, that? And this, for example, is what everyone's talking about. What the markets, pundits, and all the jabronis out there. Excuse my language. Can I say jabronis? Oh, I said it twice. Jabronis. Everyone's pumping oil, or everyone's pumping gold. It's like, well, when is the best time to buy this stuff, right? When nobody likes it, that's obvious. But B, when the feds do what? They pivot, right? When they pivot, that's when they are providing unlimited liquidity. They're trying to stabilize an economy that's crashing. All that stuff goes right into materials, metals. We're just not there yet. And as Harry just pointed out, look at the next Fed meeting. 72% chance of another rate hike. Ouch. We'll see. Let's see if there's any other. Yep, interest rates. Yep, that's right. So we'll see. I mean, this is the thing what's so hard about all this is, like, when, not if, when does everything get taken down? Ooh, oil. Again, I'm not trying to be mean to Sam. If you're listening, Sam, in the Discord room, bro, I'm trying to be nice. I just, again, they don't cut. This isn't like Facebook where Meta cuts jobs and Facebook rallies. When OPEC cuts oil supply, it's because they see demand dumping.
I found this on the web.
Yeah, thanks, Siri, for looking into that. I've seen this many times. OPEC cuts in a recession, it pops, and then it goes lower. I'm shorting tech too. FNB. I think NVIDIA kind of reminds me of Reading Railroad. If you ever read Reminiscences Stock Operator, if you haven't, please check the description of this video, and it'll have the link to the book. I recommend the audio. Listen to it until you can literally memorize that book. And everybody was like, Reading is unshortable. Unshortable. It's the best railroad. Okay. Everyone piling into this for safety. The future. AI. Okay. I mean, how many times have you seen stuff do irrational moves to only what? This is the thing I don't think people understand. The law of large numbers. The law of what? Competition coming in after you. Right? If NVIDIA supposedly has the nuts and they're making chips, why wouldn't someone just rip them off and make very similar chips? Now, easier said than done, right? But over time, that's the problem here, is that competitive advantages in semiconductor space, I don't think it's sustainable. That's why it's funny how you see how hard people are pounding the table. Like, you got to buy NVIDIA for AI. Got to buy NVIDIA for AI. All right, nobody was saying that in the, 100 range. Now up at 280, they're screaming it. You got to be scared crapless if you're along. I'd be all out and short if I was like a traditional, just that's all I could do. I mean, we do have shorts on it. We have shorts on the semiconductors. Like, it makes sense to me. It's just the timing of it. People cannot wrap their heads around. And again, I usually like to see who people are trolling the hardest, because they'll be like, did you read the news? They said NVIDIA. It's like, yeah, you read the noose. You have it around your neck. You don't realize you're literally standing on the deck. Pretend this is the 1800s. Witch's trial. You are up on the deck. The neck is, the noose is around your neck. It's just, when are they going to kick the block out from under you with that professional gap and smash? And then you go, well, I'll just wait for a day for it to rise. And it goes, but Dan, it doesn't do that. Oh, it doesn't? Yeah, it does. It does. It goes, ding. So, any other thoughts, questions, concerns? Yeah, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, all down today. Apple, down $4. Down $4. Again, this Micron stuff, I mean, I don't like to read too deep into some of this crap, but it rallying today, comedy. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? Oh, gosh. Again, Sam, if you're listening, yeah, great trade. Hopefully, man, look at that. $2 pulling back. Again, I love ag names. Love them. Zoom out on the monthly. Would anyone be surprised if during some sort of panicky, credity, whatever bullcrap, this thing gets under 60? You bet your sweet ass. Oh, man. XLF, get back. Get down. Get down again. Whoa, XBI down another $1. This thing got nothing. It's just chopping. All right, any other thoughts, questions, concerns? I appreciate the chats because, again, hopefully they're fun. You're like, man, you either polarize, hopefully not. You're like, this guy sucks. Or he knows a little bit about what he's talking about. Just a wee bit, lads. Just curious. I was, talked about FedEx last week. They talked about what they're doing with their fleet and cuts and dividends, and it's like, is that exit liquidity? Smells like it. You smell it? Or does that smell like gasoline? Oh, smells like resistance. Hold on. Oh, smells like, we talk about high volume candle, highs and lows, love to retest. Well, especially on the monthly. Look at that. Smell that? Oh, Ark of the Covenant. No mo. If you know what momentum does, it's friendly when it's good, and it's a mean thing when it's bad. Mean girls. Meh. Any other thoughts, questions? Again, if you had to put yourself in a position of trying to do this, you just got to find comedy in everything. Try to make it entertaining. Because, again, I'm just going to run through everything I'm watching. First Solar, not surprised. It bounced at the trend line. Here's the 20-day. If you're looking to short, Junior, that looks very lovely. Again, watching gold, in my mind, I'm like, liquidity coming out? Tightening? Okay. IWM, we talked about lagging. It pops today, right? 8 days. Is my green 8 day? Yeah. Okay. That another wiki. Remember, left-right combo engulfing, going lower, in my opinion. Dia, keep an eye on it, right? If it gets below what, like 330s or whatever. Oh, sorry, no. Near term, the 100-day, 320s down here. Breaks below it. It can happen fast. Fast and the Furious. We talked about Meta. All these names, like bull crap, just holding up. No. Tesla popped, flopped, chopped, whatever. Done. Apple, big problem. Because if Apple goes, you know who else is going? The rest of the market. Is this a professional gap? But it was up. It was trying to come back at one point. Well, no crap. And again, this is what I warn people. Trying to guess the 6.5-hour day of trading with 100% predictive probabilities. Hi, how are you? How high are you? Because you can't. It's hard, man. That's really hard. Guggenheim, double top. Okay. Microsoft. Jay Solsa's been all over this thing. Give him credit for it. Watching the 290 area. And I know this is tough, but man, it's like dollar peaking. Is this a professional gap? I know it doesn't look that good, but man, if he's listening, if the dollar peaking, poking off the bottoms, not peaking, This is the bottom. Microsoft dollar has a lot of dollar exposure. Flash in the pants. Keep an eye on that. Netflix, we talked about this. Anyone take the short up here? Backside of the trend line, chop zone. Okay. Intel, keep an eye on it, right? We're just watching things. Talked about upside target zone. Doesn't really, chop. How long? Taiwan Semi, finally. Why this is my favorite short? Again, should be very logical. Takes out the 85 zone. Goodbye. Goodbye, sailor. I mean, what else? I mean, Amazon, we've talked about struggle up here in the low 100s. It's just kind of is what it is. Semiconductors now, SMH got up to 253.90. This gap is the trap. Like, game over. It's just, here's your little island floating. But here's the thing. Like, back test the trend line, 20-day, chopping. Samsung, what, profits down 96%? I mean, that headline is kind of wild. But here's the thing. Like, when are they going to start losing money? That's what I'm expecting. Samsung is going to be losing money at some point. Profits? No. They won't have any at some point. So, all right. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns, beliefs? Again, do we want to argue certainty? Probably not. Anybody around? It's pretty quiet. I'm surprised. But again, I'm also not surprised. It's the day after Easter weekend. Europe's closed. I don't really see how the market really rallies at this point other than just intraday crap. Just curious Nike, because they're pushing some interesting campaigns. Let's check out Bud. Really, isn't it Bud for Anheuser-Busch? This one's changed so many. That's interesting. Interesting. But this thing has been slaughtered. I mean, I understand where they're coming from. They need to try something different, but yeah, their clientele, let's just say, is not. Again, you think about, and now again, marketing 101, right? You want to sell your products to a certain, person, right? That's you build the marketing for particular customers, right? Like, if I'm going to write an email ad for real estate, I need to think about who's buying real estate. Well, the people buying cheap beer that tastes like piss, I don't know if they know their target audience. I mean, yeah, Shannon, I don't know, man. It's a weird topic because I'm like, if you want to promote women, which, cool, I'm all about it. Why do you got a dude on their marketing campaign? That just seems very, very weird. Am I going to get canceled for that? Is that a fair opinion? I don't know. I would love to see Serena Williams on a Bud Light, or I don't know. Again, target audience, whatever. I don't know. It's some things, I have conversations with friends and I'm like, world doesn't make sense sometimes. Doesn't. So I'm just like trading. All right. Any other thoughts, concerns, questions? Keep an eye on, again, it's the middle of the day, getting a little tired. Watch the cues, because I think tech is down. Shannon, I think we have the same thoughts on this. A lot of the stuff doesn't make sense. A lot of it doesn't make sense. All for empowering women. All for empowering people to be themselves. Don't have a problem with that. Don't have a problem with it. I just don't think the marketing makes sense. Who drinks cheap beer that tastes like piss? College students. People who are broke, alcoholics. I don't know. I don't see many. I don't understand. Anyone have a chart request? Not, I'll let it run. I think it's one of those days where if you have the nuts, meaning the trades are in your favor, you just got to be patient. NFGC, yeah, this one's been one I'm watching. I'd love to see this thing get back down to 2-3 range. Flex LNG, again, this is a name I think will be a big dog. Because of, again, I mean, 20,000 shares. That's a good sign. When it doesn't have a ton of shares, maybe they'll do a secondary at some point, try to create some liquidity, but I think this thing can go higher. Roblox, nothing. Nothing. Stuck up against the 40s. Man, somebody's going to get mad at what I said and report me. I'm just sorry. That's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. Just like I don't get mad at other opinions I don't agree with. It's just the reality of things. If I was going to market piss poor tasting beer, I don't know. I don't know if I would do that. I'd probably have the biggest redneck possible on there. Did you cover First Solar? Yeah, I just did. I thought it was a good short area right up here. Give me 2 seconds. This 208 area. 20-day. Bouncing. Yeah, I mean, you've got CPI on Wednesday, PPI Thursday, retail sales, industrial production, all the bank earnings on Friday. I mean, the CPI, what it comes in at, I don't know. But I think the CPI is a little different now than it was like last year. Because right now, people might be focusing on inflation, but the reality is that people need to be focusing on what? The softening economy. Yeah, Trent, well, I mean, does it always pop on CPI? It's tough to say, right? It's tough to say. I'd argue we popped into the CPI. Like, we're up into the CPI, right? I would argue the market is up into the CPI. Would we not agree? Does the CPI start the next down move? That's what I would be thinking, the CPI. Because, again, if the CPI, whatever it comes in at, the feds have to get their Fed fund rate above inflation rates. Well, what are they expecting? 0.4 times 12? Yeah, I mean, they're close to 5. Are they at their terminal rate? I mean, again, we could argue this. We could spin this forever, right? Who knows? Who the hell knows? But I would argue the market's up into earnings, and it's up into the CPI, which we're going to find out earnings aren't good. That's, again, the reaction we'll see. Earnings aren't good. Economy's slowing. Again, I don't think people understand. Now, maybe not understand, but this trucking, like, again, I hate to beat a dead horse, but this stuff really, I mean, this is, we talked about, we saw this with what? Costco sales over the weekend slowing, right? People are like, that's interesting. Interesting. Costco sales finally slowing. Like, they never slow down, right? Unless what? Things are bad. This is not what I want to look at. I don't want to look at those folks' junk. This stuff, I'm telling you right now, for inflation, the current adjusted truckload spot rate is below the COVID lows. Adjusted for inflation, remember that. Not good. I'm telling you, if trucking's falling off a cliff, the economy is not moving goods. If goods aren't being moved, that means what? Inventories are building. Yeah, you're going to get deflation then at some point, right? It's called price cutting. Right? Price cuts. You got to move inventory. Well, then comes a race to the bottom. That's my thinking. Could be wrong. But this stuff matters. Trucking rates. Keep an eye on it. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? If not, I'll wrap it up. Let's go check the notifications. Is anyone saying you're an idiot? Nope. Darn. Not today, Junior. Again, hopefully you check out the Trading Agent website. I'm telling you, I'm trying to update this, keep more of the stuff involved in it. Go to the bottom if you want to sign up for the newsletter. And again, the newsletter is going to be me just sending what I think is important occasionally, not meant to be spammy at all, maybe once a week. My intentions are people, if they're going to follow, they're going to follow. Like, I don't need to push people content. Oh, I want to learn how to trade. Well, give me information. No. Take it. It's all there. You have to take. You have to go for it. Get it. All right. Man, how long is this? About it? Nope, hour on the dot. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? I agree with you. You got to be a little concerned about CPI, but man, if we rise into CPI, it feels like more of a trap to sell the news. Me personally, if I had to guess what's going to happen tomorrow, based on the data and the information that's coming out, I mean, you've got a VIX that's bottoming, right? You got levels breaking. You've got gaps potentially confirming. It might not matter. It might not matter what the CPI is. Now, it might matter like intraday or, between the open and the close and the futures action, but this feels, again, like the awakening is coming. How high does it have to be? Well, that's the question, right? Like, will the CPI trigger a meltdown? I don't know. The way that interest rates are working, the dollar's working, the way that the CPI is perceived to be holding up higher, then that means what? Fed's got to raise. They got to slow the economy down. That's the only way they're going to kill inflation. You're not killing inflation by doing what? Keeping lowering the rates and trying to get people excited about the market. I mean, that's just, again, my opinion. That's what I typically have seen. Like, they've got a job to do. Dual mandate, right? Price stability, unemployment. Well, unemployment, as we know, is going to get worse, but it is at what levels? It's at, I guess, near all-time lows. So they're not worried about that. They got to kill inflation. They know it. Everybody knows it. It's a matter of when. And that's the thing about bear markets and they're traders markets. I say this all the time. Like, people go, well, bear market should be over, and everyone's like, 1 year of negative returns on the S&P 500 typically, that's the bear market. Okay. On average. Right? On average. But let's be real here. Have we maxed out the pain threshold? No. Does the VIX hit 50 plus? No. Have we maxed out the pain of this recession? The answer is no. But people are like, well, why isn't the market just tanking? Well, again, somebody's got to be exit liquidity. It'll drop when they're ready for it to get dumped. That is what is so damn hard about this. It's, again, you can trade around your positions, absolutely. But at some point, they pull the bottom out from this. The VIX is going to rise. It's just that simple. Could we be wrong? This is, again, remember we're talking about certainty. Absolutely. Could liquidity come in? And this is what people, this is why I feel like people struggle with this. Is like, if the news changed, the Fed did something change, you have to pivot. But until that happens, there's no reason to change the beliefs. Right? Why would I? If your evidence is based on repeating patterns, the repeating conditions that lead to certain things, well, those conditions are in place. Don't change your mind. Right? Well, people say, well, it's not working. Well, is it? Are financials leading the market lower? I feel like they got hurt. Do you remember that? Banks, financials. We talked about real estate. We talked about certain sectors. The liquidity, like the market breadth, like evaporating, only a few names rising. Again, something's going behind the, something is going on beyond the, obvious vision. Again, it's like, I did hear like that scene from Wolf of Wall Street, where he's like, they're sitting there at that dining room. He's like, it's just a fugazi, and he's like pumping his chest. He's like, He's like, no, the market's a bunch of crap. It's a bunch of bull crap. It's meant to confuse. Oh, we don't know what's going on. No. Somebody knows what's going on. It's just idiots like that, the average person, the news, the people who pay attention to everything that's going on around them. It's easy to get confused, right? It's easy to believe like, oh, the market isn't tanking. Well, that means it has to go higher. Does it? Same thing at the lows. Think about nat gas or whatever your favorite commodity. Oh, just because it's at, because it's not dropping anymore, it has to go higher. Does it? Keep that, think about that for a minute and end it there. Have a great day. See you guys on the live or the daily market review. Be safe out there. Be smart. Hit me up if you got any questions. Talk to you later.